We're breaking down some early Dolphins training camp takeaways. The pads are not on yet, but football's back, and we just can't wait to talk about it. So we'll spend some time today looking at some of the good, the bad, and, well, mostly the good at Dolphins training camp so far. Now, who here is subscribed? If you are, thank you. We appreciate your support here at Chat Sports. If you are, type in me so we can give you guys some love. If you're not, then go subscribe right now so you can type in me immediately afterward. All right, some early takeaways here. Kendall Lamm getting some positive buzz around the Dolphins. Multiple different reporters on scene have said good things about Kendall Lamm. Now, I'll make note, I think it's a very dumb rule. But the way this is set up is that the reporters are not allowed to say who was with the first team and second team. Stupid. But there's been a lot of positive praise for Kendall Lamm with the caveat that they can't say that. Read between the lines. Seems like Kendall Lamm is the LT1 there with Terron Armstead currently on the physically unable to perform list. He flashed a little bit last year. Didn't get beat in pass protection against the New England Patriots in his lone appearance for 32 snaps. Didn't have the best run blocking necessarily, but an early positive training camp start does bode well for him in terms of making the Dolphins roster and maybe being the swing tackle option at left tackle or on the right side where Austin Jackson is, well, he is Austin Jackson. Let's just put it that way from that perspective. So offensive line in general, maybe not their best stuff so far, but a long way to go, and some guys have been banged up like Armstead and Wynn. Some good buzz as well. We'll keep it positive here. Since it's July, you should always focus on the positives here, especially outside of injuries, unfortunately, for Miami. Raekwon Davis, and Christian Wilkins too, but we know Wilkins is great, so that's kind of duh. Have looked sharp, impactful so far at training camp, seem to be getting the best of the offensive linemen, which may be somewhat expected, but a Raekwon Davis breakout at that nose guard spot would be a really nice addition for the Dolphins in the new defense led by Vic Fangio. His numbers haven't been the best over the years. His job, again, as a run-stopping nose guard is typically to take on the double teams, etc. It's not necessarily a constant reality of you're going to get a bunch of stats from that perspective. So it's always worth considering that and keeping it in mind. So will Raekwon Davis break out this year? That's an ideal outcome for the Miami Dolphins, not necessarily a guarantee, however. Y for yes, N for no. It's actually going to be today's pinned comment, so if the ad break comes here on YouTube, that's fine. Ignore the ad. Instead, go vote at the pinned comment. Y for yes, N for no. Time for an under-the-radar player, one I'm sure you guys are fans of because you're diehards too. Mitchell Agude, the UDFA out of Miami of Florida, continues to build on his OTA efforts, the flashes that he has shown as of late. He had 4 sacks for the Hurricanes in his last college season, but he has a chance here to make the team and make an impact as one of those backup edges, which would be a nice addition for Miami. Still a long way to go in training camp. Not a guarantee, but some of the flashes he's shown are very intriguing for a player who really wasn't on a lot of draft radars. To be fair, the Dolphins do have a good track record with UCLA to Miami, Florida Hurricane transfers. Maybe Agude can be the next one there in the same vein of a Jalen Phillips, but he wasn't on a ton of draft radars. 4 sacks was all he had in the last season, which is, not the best necessarily, 7 TFLs. There is room for some roster battles, meanwhile, at the edge rusher spot. Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Manuel Agude will play some edge, base defensive end, hybrid player there, both in good shape. But, Andrew Van Ginkel maybe isn't a roster lock. Maybe more safe, but you're probably going to carry at least one more, so maybe that's Malik Reed, who has shown flashes at times in his NFL career. Or maybe it is Agude. If he can continue to build in a positive sense, everybody loves the UDFA making the team. Also gives 3 cheap years of back end of roster contribution, which is valuable, especially when you have some big contracts that you've handed out and will hand out in the coming years. Training camp, of course, is here. We will keep you guys covered with everything going on around the Miami Dolphins, so don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now for more free Dolphins YouTube videos. If you haven't already, you're still watching, you're not subscribed, you clearly like what we're doing, you're enjoying the content, so don't miss out. Hit that sub button right now. Let's talk quarterback 2 battle then for the Miami Dolphins. So Skylar Thompson, and I'll give credit to Adam Beasley here of Pro Football Network, Appreciate him tracking the team drill stats, not 7-on-7, but the 11-on-11, which matters the most, not on air or whatever. Skylar Thompson, 9 of 13, 163 yards and a touchdown, which is certainly very valuable and important. And I think Thompson, to a certain extent, has maybe been viewed as the overlooked man, that when they brought in Mike White, it was, okay, Thompson's not going to be the guy, whatever. But he's still making some nice plays in camp. I've always viewed him as a bit more of a good practice player. And Mike White, meanwhile, has always been the gamer. If you're going to buck them into two groups, although I think you can make an argument for Thompson being a decent gamer from a more limited physical skill set. White's been efficient as well. 9 of 10, 96 yards. Again, team drills. Again, it's 2 days of practice. You don't have to freak out, read too much into that, but it is a good indication of where the Dolphins are at in terms of where things sit with the offense. So we'll see who ends up winning that job. Obviously, Tua is the number 1 quarterback. That is not going to change outside of injuries. But who is quarterback 2? ST for Skylar Thompson, MW for Mike White. Head down to the comments section. Let me know who you're picking in that backup quarterback training camp battle. Saw Cam Smith now, the rookie second-round pick out of South Carolina. Maybe a bit more important, in light of recent news. But Cam Smith has been a little up and down early on, which is okay. He is a rookie. That's a not easy super transition position, and there's some really great speed on the Dolphins at wide receiver, and it's an iron sharpens iron thing when he gets some reps against Waddle, Hill, etc., because those are the best receivers he'll probably face all year, all things considered. The Dolphins have a chance to give Cam Smith some playing time this year. We'll see how it all works out with Howard and Cater Kohu, etc., but it would not be the worst thing in the world if Cam Smith ends up playing games, as long as he plays well. That's the whole point. You don't want another Noah Igbinoghene situation. So I liked Cam Smith a lot coming out of South Carolina. A bit up and down. It's early. I'm certainly not panicking quite yet. Some more praise here. How about Alec Ingold? So the Dolphins give the orange practice jersey each day to the player who was the top performer the day before. On Thursday, Alec Ingold was wearing the jersey. A good sign for those of you who want to carry a fullback. I'm very curious how the Dolphins will utilize their personnel this year. This could be a situation where maybe they utilize some more fullback looks and they go 2 receivers, 2 backs, whatever. Maybe a tight end mixed in there. Maybe they go no tight ends, and they could get really creative if they want to, and they could go 3 receivers, 2 backs, Ingold and a running back. It's a thing worth at least considering. Special teams also matters. Again, we're going rapid fire today, baby. The punt return battle. 4 guys have been getting some reps early on. These are your 4 likely options. I think there's a clear favorite. I would argue it's Braxton Berrios. If you need a big play and you're okay jeopardizing a potential injury, Jalen Waddle offers you more explosiveness. River Craycraft and Cedric Wilson are going to be out there as options for the Dolphins as veteran with some experience there. Here are their career numbers. Braxton Berrios, 67 punt returns, 776 yards. Waddle did more of that at Alabama with the explosiveness that he brings. Craycraft and Wilson have done it some too. I would be a bit surprised if both River Craycraft and Cedric Wilson ended up making the Dolphins roster this year. Berrios should, Waddle will. So maybe one of those guys makes it. Gives you some extra options depending on how you want to juggle potential injuries, etc. Decent note from Omar Kelly, by the way, that about the Dolphins' inside linebacking core. Jerome Baker, David Long are your starters. Duke, Riley, Channing, Tindall is the second team. And then Aubrey Miller would be leading your third team unit, but Zeke Vandenberg's out for the year on injured reserve, so you can't go 3 deep. Now that probably just means more reps for a player who needs them in Channing Tindall in terms of the second and the third team linebacking unit. When you want to rotate guys, that's all valuable, but it does leave you thin. So you might want to keep an eye out for another linebacker, whether it's now, later, or if there are more injuries, knock on wood. So what do you think? Do the Dolphins need another linebacker? 1 for yes, 0 for no. Go vote for me in the comments section. Some veteran linebackers. Now these are bigger name guys who would probably make the most sense in the event that there's an injury or they need someone to make the roster for you. Not just get you through training camp, but get you through regular season games. There's Quan Alexander, Rashaan Evans, Zach Cunningham, Deion Jones, Miles Jack, Anthony Barr, Kyle Van Noy, Jayan Brown. All of those guys are are available as veteran pieces, differing levels of impact, play, etc. If you just want somebody to get you through training camp, a couple names to consider here. Jeremy Banks, who was recently cut by the Bucs, had some off-the-field stuff at Tennessee, but is talented. Story Jackson spent last year's camp with the Cowboys. Clay Johnston played a bunch of snaps for the Bengals on special teams. That actually might be a decent fit for you. And Ian Swenson was recently cut by the Houston Texans. So 4 much lesser names when there's a lot of available options if you just need someone to get you through the rest of training camp.